For decades, the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station stood as a pillar of energy generation and a source of deep debate. In 2019, it shut its doors, leaving behind questions about safety, responsibility, and our environment. Now, a new controversy emerges. Should treated wastewater from the decommissioning process be released into the waters of Plymouth Bay? What risks does this pose to the ecosystem, local fishermen, and the community's future? And who gets to decide what's safe?
We interviewed lifelong Plymouth local and anti-nuclear activist Pat Parker on the topic. Do you believe treated water from Pilgrim is safe enough for the bay, or should extra precautions be taken before any release?
I don't think it should go into the bay. It's going to stay there forever and ever. And we got fish and lobster, and it shouldn't go into the bay. I'm glad they said no.
All right, and what worries you the most, or not at all, about treated nuclear waste entering the bay?
What worries me the most?
Yeah.
About it getting into the environment and getting into the food chain, and we get young kids eating all this stuff, and what it's going to do to the fishing industry around here. Who wants to buy lobster that might be contaminated? So, no, I'm not in favor of any of that.
After speaking with local resident Pat Parker, the outrage felt across the community became impossible to ignore. For Pat and many others, Plymouth Bay is their home, a place tied to their lives, their health, and the animals that depend on these waters. Residents fear that dumping treated wastewater, no matter how it's described, puts marine life and local ecosystem at risk. They believe their concerns are being overlooked and that protecting the bay should come before convenience. This controversy is not just about policy, it's about defending a home worth protecting for people, wildlife, and future generations.
Our next interview offers a rare and valuable perspective. Firefighter Lieutenant Jeff from Plymouth has first-hand experience inside the Pilgrim Nuclear Station, access that very few people ever get. Because the facility is highly restricted, information from someone who has actually worked within the plant is extremely hard to obtain. His insight helps bridge the gap between public concern and what truly happens behind closed doors, making his
Hello,
perspective
we're here with
especially
a former
important
firefighter
as this
who had
controversy
access to the
continues in
power
Plymouth.
plant because he was a firefighter. So, tell us about your experience while
Well,
Plymouth.
yeah, my name's Jeff. I did 32 years in the local fire department, and we toured the facility quite a bit on training and stuff. And, sometimes you walk in, and a lot of people would be around with bandages on their neck like they had something worked on, but of course we don't know what it was. And a lot of times going through the facility, it's pretty good for area familiarization, what goes on there. And at one point, we go up to the top of the big building, and you're looking over this big, huge pool. We'll call it 100 by 100. And down, it's all water with the original fuel rods that were underwater. The water keeps it safe so the radiation doesn't come out in the air, I guess. So anyway, they had them all from day one, and they just all stacked on top of each other. And it was the cleanest, clearest water you've ever seen. It just had a tinge blue to it, but you could see all the way to the bottom, and it was a very high building. And their deal was when they were closing, they always had to keep running pumps to keep water in that tank. That was just their operating procedure. So, and from there on, I don't know if the system is still up online or not, but whatever's in that pool, they always have to keep water in it.
So, do you think that pool of water is what they want to dump into the bay, or do you think it's some other?
I can only speculate, but I do know that all the spent fuel rods were in that pool of water. And they said they went back to the 60s.
As Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant fades into history, the questions it leaves behind remain very much alive. What happens next will shape Plymouth Bay for decades, not just as a body of water, but as a source of life, livelihood, and identity for the people who depend on it. Throughout this film, we've heard from residents, first responders, and community members who share one common belief: this bay is worth protecting. For them, the debate over treated wastewater is not just a technical decision or a regulatory process, it is a moral responsibility. Trust cannot be demanded, It must be earned through transparency, accountability, and respect for the voices of the community. When decisions are made behind closed doors, fear and outrage grow, not because people reject science, but because they want assurance that every possible risk has been considered. Plymouth Bay supports marine life, local fisheries, recreation, and a way of life passed down through generations. Once harm is done, it cannot simply be reversed. That is why so many are asking for caution, not out of panic, but out of care.
No, that's good.
This story is not about being for or against nuclear power. It is about who bears the consequences after the plant shuts down, and who gets a seat at the table when the future of a community is decided. As the tide continues to move in and out of Plymouth Bay, so too does a responsibility to protect it. The choices made today will echo long after the final equipment is removed and the last gate is locked. The question that remains is simple, yet powerful. Will the voices of the people who
To the
call this place
residents
home
of Plymouth,
be heard
first
before
responders,
it's too
and
late?
community members who trusted us with their stories, thank you for your honesty and courage. This project would not be possible without those willing to speak up to protect the place they call home, and we are grateful for the opportunity to help share that message. And thank you to the viewers for watching our film.